Welcome to the Evolution of Mom podcast. We are your hosts, Amy and Sharice. We hope you enjoyed our last episode on insecurity and confidence around relationships. Today, we have a special guest, Dylan Bowman, who is a life transformer.
We are so excited to have her here. She spoke to me instantly. I saw her get interviewed. It was by Amy. Actually, you were doing an interview and I was like, oh, I need this woman in my life. And so we started following each other on Instagram, connecting, and everything about what you do, how you help people and women transform is just so inspiring to us. And I actually got the pleasure of being a part of one of her workshops. It was a cup full of soul, I believe, or soulful cup something. Yes. And it was amazing. So she combines in this program physical fitness and physical health with emotional, like positive stimulation, positive feedback. You are just on this like soul opening high as you work out. It was such a beautiful experience. And I just love everything you've even grown into since. So I would love to hear more and let our listeners know more about how Soul Divers and all of that came to be.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Thank you guys for having me on too. It's been a pleasure. Like, I feel like I know you, like your soul is so familiar. So I just want to say that and just highlight just you guys are doing incredible too. So I love seeing your shine. I just like see the twinkles in your eyes. So I just want to acknowledge it's so good to be here. So thank you. My God. Okay. So let's see. I will go back a little bit and then I'll take you right into like how SOULcleanse kind of birthed. So I was not a fit kid growing up. I was not into fitness at all. The only thing I was into was dancing. Like I loved dancing. That was the only thing like into my bones. And I used to fantasize about like being in the fitness world. Like there would be no way that I could ever be into fitness. And then I realized that that was just an excuse and then holding me back. So eventually down the road, I got my shit together and I had like a big soul ache within myself, like because I was a receptionist at my dad's office and I was just craving more within myself to be healthy. So I was like trying to do all the quick diets and all these different things. And eventually I was like, yeah, there's nothing quick about us. We need to take care of ourselves for like longevity. So I really stepped into my health, got into a program, got a personal trainer, won the transformation for like losing the weight and everything. And then I was like, holy crap, I really like this. Maybe I could do this as a career. So then I went into fitness and I was going to be on The Biggest Loser, training some of the people on there too. I was going to be on the cruise and that didn't happen, but that was just like a pretty much kind of a dream. But then it took me into, you know, fitness, yoga, breathwork, massage, meditation, my more intuitive gifts. I was always been blessed as a kid to be, I thought it was a curse for sure. I do so many things. So then from that journey in the last 3 years, let's see, my anniversary is coming up on July 10th, where I almost committed suicide 2 years ago. And I met someone that deeply changed my life. Toria Leto is absolutely amazing. And I connected with her and I was doing therapy before and counseling and I've done all that, but there was something that energetically pulled me to her. I was writing my suicide letter to her and just things just like exploded within myself. I didn't realize I went through a really awful breakup for 10 years. And I thought, you know, I had the perfect job, you know, like I had my own office, fitness, everything was coming together. We were getting ready to buy a house. We were in the house. And then she like left and it was like one of the worst breakups. And luckily I'm still in my stepson's life, but I only see him once a week. So it's very hard. So I went through a lot of pain, like a lot of pain. I was like, that's it. I'm going to end it. Like it was over. It was over is over. And I didn't realize during that pain, our biggest pain bombs are bringing us close to ourselves. Like we always think we're trying to run away because we just want it to stop. And that's actually us like calling for ourselves. Like, hey, you need to take care of me. Things are going wrong, but we're not adjusted to that. So then I'm into Network Spinal too, which is a holistic chiropractor that really helps you get in touch with the spine and the emotions that are going on in the body to connect you back home, energetically back home. I've been under it for 11 years and it's so transformative. So from there, and then I met Tori and then I just fucking took off. So my birth of SOULcleanse can't happen from my pain. Like I was trying to create something so different. I was doing like an emotional like workouts with my clients. And then SOULcleanse started to birth from me. I was like, I'm getting tired of just personal training, like all of the other stuff. I was like, I want to do something different. And I was doing already coaching intuitive like things with my clients, my one-on-one. And I was like, something's happening. So I did a lot of exploration with my pain, went to SOULcycle, went to all these different things. And I started creating my own thing. And first when SOULcleanse came out, I called it the experience. Cause I was like, I don't know what this is. It was so like wild. And then SOULcleanse happened 75 like minute experience, 30 minutes, 45. So it's just like, I take all my stuff and then look at the human that's in front of me. And then we go through all your patterns that are holding you back from everything that you've been through in your life, when we actually take our wounds and turn them into fucking magic. Like, cause all our pain within ourselves is just having us say something's wrong. I need to change things around. And you don't realize that during the process. Like, I feel like I'm in a fucking dream right now. Like, I can't believe that like half the things I'm doing right now, but I chose me. So my pain chose me, and then SOULcleanse like birthed out of me. And I feel like it's just getting started.
Oh, that is. Oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us. We love, oh my gosh, your vulnerability and everything in that was so beautiful. And we are deep believers in that our life really happens for us instead of to us. And all of the trauma and the pain that we go through, has been given to us for a reason. And we can find so much, even if it's not in the moment. And afterwards, we can find the lesson and the beauty in what it was there for. And learning to take care of yourself in that way is so special. When our life is crashing around us, I love talking about the plane analogy. When the pilot comes on and says, hey, if this plane's going to crash, you need to put your own oxygen mask on first. Yes. And then those around you. Life's the same way. If your life is spiraling and crashing, I think we typically try to escape and do external outward things first, when really we need to come back to ourselves, put our own oxygen mask on first, and go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I liked how you mentioned, like, you had the partner, you had like everything was kind of seeming like going in the right direction and stuff. And it's so interesting, I think, because we can have like the 2.5 kids, we can have the house, we can have the career, we can have everything that we want, but there's still like that ache that's inside us. And you mentioned like that soul ache that you called it, that is screaming at us for something more, that we are something more, right? Like, I think so many of us know deep inside that we have greater potential that we're not using. So can you kind of go into that soul ache a little bit?
So when we have something within ourselves, like let's say we're doing like you can be either two different vibrations of it, just completely lost and not sure where you're meant to be going. So that's an ache vibration of kind of waking you up on where you're being led to kind of really raise your head and like look at what's surrounding you right now. What type of people you're surrounding yourself with? The job, like what kind of things are you doing? And then the other one too is like when you feel like you're just doing the checklist every day and you're like, is this what life is? Like, I'm just doing the day-to-day things, like nothing's wrong, but is this it? Like and then that's like a vibration of like ache. Okay. So something's starting to like kind of stir you up. So I always like to ask people, what lights you up? Like, what do you feel like is part of you is dying inside? Like, what part have you shut off in you? Like, we have to go back to like even our inner child and like bring him or her back up to the surface and really allow those things to kind of wake you up within yourselves. And then you start to like figure out different vibrations within where that soul ache is. And then we come into other things with, coming into like your soul truth. So when you find the answer, like, okay, cool. I meant to leave this career. This is not working for me anymore. So now you've got it to the soul truth. By the way, this process is fucking awful. Like, it's so
it is a grind.
Yes. Like,
there were so many times I was like, I wish I just could go back. Like, maybe it would be easier if I was unconscious.
Ignorance is bliss. Is that true? Like, can we just, but is it really?
They show, can we just say, when you see pictures and they're like, in this awakening moment and they're on the mountain and they're like this and their aha moment, you do get there when you get to the awakening, but like part of the process, you're in full on fucking fetal position. Like, you're in your rebirth. You're like, I'm a fucking mess. Like, I'm losing it. You don't even know how to ground yourself. Keep going. Like, if your wisdom, your soul wisdom is talking to you, keep going. If you are in a beautiful mess, like a lotus, you have to think of a lotus. Like when they're planted, they're not really pretty, and then they blossom. And then when you come into that awakening with yourself, you'll have your arms open like, oh my God, I've made it, and celebrate every single small win, big win, all of it too. We think that we have to have this big aha moment. Everything is a fucking win. Like we have to celebrate all of it.
Yes.
We're big believers in celebrating all the wins.
Good.
And we don't,
you guys
right?
are.
Like when you recognize that you showed up differently today than you would have normally, right?
Mhm.
Like we don't celebrate that. We just go, oh, but look at how far I have to go still, right? Like
Yeah.
you just like look at the top of the mountain, you're like, oh fuck, I have so much further to go. But really, if you look back, you're like, I've come so far.
And when you can find those joyous moments along the way, it makes the journey easier. It makes it more enjoyable. And when you reach that mountaintop, you're in a better headspace than if it was so terrible for you the whole time. But if you can shift your mindset around it just that little bit, like this, again, this pain is happening for me. I'm going through this transformation for a reason. It's hard right now, but I know it's getting better. Those kind of mindset shifts are what make the mountaintop that much better. If you can have a joyous experience along the way and try and find pleasure and joy in that journey along the way, it makes a huge difference.
Completely. And I had to change within my self-talk too when I was working with others is when they're losing it. Like I get excited about it and I'll say that this is amazing, but we can't say, there's a new door opening yet, because then we're going into toxic positivity. So it's like you have to acknowledge the roughness of what it is right now for the human as they're losing it completely, holding tremendous space. Like I have the capacity to hold so much space when they're losing it completely. And then you start to rebuild back up. And then you're like, oh, now I see the door that's opening for me. You didn't see, and you can't say that. We all know that, but it's like we have to hold space for that, all that rawness and everything for us to grieve into that experience.
Yeah. It's so often that we especially as somebody wanting to hold space, we want to make it better or pass it off, right? Like we don't want to sit in it.
It's so triggering.
We don't want to be there, right? Like we're like,
you.
Yeah, we're like, it sucks right now. It sucks, right? But just acknowledging it and allowing all those pieces to be there is so important. Like we label things as good and bad. We label the pain and we don't want to feel it. And so, but that keeps us stuck, right? So how do you move through that? Like how do you help people move through it?
That's great. So you notice, because sometimes I didn't know how long I was going to be in my breakup pain. I was like waking up every day and I'm like, I'm still in this. And I remember people were like, eventually, within time, I'm like, fuck y'all. Sure. Yeah. And eventually I just allowed myself to be in it as raw as I needed to be in it. And then I started setting boundaries with it. So setting a timer, okay, so today we're going to set 30 minutes to just purge all these different things, burn. And really, I love to meet myself in the mirror too. So I have people kind of make eye contact with themselves to really acknowledge all the pain that you're going through, and then acknowledging it's okay. This is just a chapter. This is just a chapter. And we have to remind ourselves, this is not permanent, even though it feels like it. And eventually it starts to get lighter. I cry because there's been so many transformative things that have been going on with the soul divers I've been working with. It's just, they're in a mess. And I know that they're about to step into their magic. I'll hear their voice change. I'll see, before we get started, when I work with people, I like to take a before picture after of their eyes. I want you to take a picture of your eyes, acknowledge what you're feeling emotionally, where you're at right now. And then we continue to go from there. And it's so my eyes used to be black. And now they'll be hazel and brown and everything. I'm like, oh my God, there's so much magic in us and our pain. So to let the pain be as it's going to be, but then also kind of have boundaries with it in a way. I'm very good at reading when it's time to switch things up, or let's bring some joy in. Sometimes I'll bring some fucking bubbles into a situation because we need to bring some life in it and be a reminder that when we have a really deep conversation, not to change it, but to just remind, okay, there is still light coming through. There is still joy, and to not be so buried in it. So like you can be in it, but like allow yourself to be open so you don't shut and allow your perception to change to how you're going to view things now.
That's so beautiful, because especially as women, we have such big emotions inside of us, and we tend to just keep them in and we play them, like we downplay them. And like,
how often do they tell us that you're being too emotional or you're just a woman right now? Like,
stop being so emotional.
Your emotions are bad.
You mean like I'm alive and I'm feeling fucking awesome?
Yeah, like
I am a human being.
Yes.
And it goes on both spectrums. Women get in shit sometimes when they're also feeling too vibrant, too awesome, and those big emotions on that spectrum as well. And so having a community or a mentor and a coach and all of the things around you that support those big emotions is so life-changing.
So life-changing. I mean, my wound was always, I'm too much.
Yeah.
It's like
mine too. That's my wound. I'm like, oh, this is going to be the moment that I'm too much right now. Like I constantly ask myself that. I'm like, is this the moment now that I'm too much? Especially in relationship.
So let's explore on that. Like, where did that get planted in you?
Go into my stuff.
You like that?
Vulnerability. My finest moment. I mean, a lot of it goes back to my childhood for sure. Like I'm the oldest of two siblings. Well, there's 3 of us. I'm the oldest.
Okay.
And I think the moment that like my sister came into the world, I was all about like protecting her and helping her. And so I never really wanted to outshine her. I never wanted to make her feel like she was less than or anything like that, because I already had the tagline big sister, right? I was already the example. I was already all these things. So it really kind of played back into that, like, okay, you know, and it's same thing in my groups of friends and all that kind of stuff. I've always had this, like, people have looked to me as a guide, but I've never, like, I always see their potential and I want them to grow and I want them to shine. But I kind of do it by dimming my light.
Why do you dim yours?
It makes me fit in a little bit more, I think, because I just feel like I am going to be too much in that, right? Like I'm going to lose love at the end of the day for being too much.
Is it scary to be seen?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah. I'm now learning how to step into that and really be like, I'm here to be seen. And if you don't like me, then that's okay. Right.
Good. How do you get through those moments like that?
I've got through it by, well, I mean, I've spent a lot of time in this feminine energy and feeling what that feels like and being like, you know what, it is okay to be sexual and sensual, and it is okay. Like, it doesn't matter if people want to judge you. That's their insecurity. That's not mine. And the more that I show up authentically, because at the end of the day, if I don't show up authentically, then I feel like I'm misunderstood and I'm not seen and I'm not heard. And those are like the 3 things that everybody wants, is to be understood, seen, and heard.
Yes.
But I'm hiding who I am. And so then I'm feeling misunderstood and not seen and heard. So I have to show up as who I am, right? To attract my dream partner, to attract, you know, my friends and all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
When did you start stepping into you? That's the last question. I won't dig into anymore.
I think I really started leaning into it a few months ago. I read a book called Pussy that changed my world.
Pussy changed my world, but too much.
Never.
Yeah, this book literally transformed her life, though.
I was in like the self-development section, and I was like looking for a book on femininity, and there's this like white book with like gold writing on it called Pussy, and it's just like, that's all it is, a reclamation. And I was like,
go ahead.
I'm like, I turn it over, I read the back, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna trust that this is what it's for. And I walked up, and there's like the 16-year-old boy at like the book counter, and I'm like, I'm just gonna flip this over and put it face down. Even though he can see it on like the screen when it pops up. And I took it home, and I'm like, God, I hope my kids don't ask me what that word is on the front. But I was so enthralled with it, I couldn't put it down. I was reading it, and it just kind of opened my world to know that I haven't been in touch with any of my femininity for so long. And I've been denying that side of me for fear of being too sexual, for fear of being too much, right? Because women inherently didn't like me in my social circle. So I was like, okay, I got to kind of dim myself down and be more masculine and be more whatever, because I hang out, I play sports, I hang out with the guys a lot of times, and never was well liked in the women community in that aspect. Like when Amy and I are on the same team for network marketing, and the first time I ended up going to like this trip in a house with 20 women. And I was like, this is my worst fucking nightmare, right? Like, I'm like, I thought all women were competitive and catty and like really wanted to see you not fly and succeed, which is totally not the case. And so, yeah, it's kind of transformed my world. But yeah, it's last long story short, I guess, last couple months.
And a good community.
Book and a good community.
Yeah. It's important for you. I mean, you guys, you know how important community is. It's like when you actually can be, when people can see you for you, and you're like, oh God, thank you guys. Because we can see ourselves for ourselves. So that when we have a community of people, it's so comforting. You're like, oh my God, thank you. Yeah, so absolutely. Congratulations. I'm glad. Keep being you. You're really beautiful. Like just your aura. And I can see that it just recently is starting to pop, and it's still going. So let her go like completely. She's ready to like go on fire soon. Oh, your higher self is about to freak you out a little bit. Listen to her.
I know that it's coming. I'm like, but how? Yeah. And I'm like, I don't need to know.
Yeah, it's been such an amazing journey, and I love watching it. It's like this like epic, like, and it obviously every time we grow ourselves and every time we serve ourselves, it ripples out into those around us. And I think we're always scared that it's going to be in this negative way of losing love, of being too much and all of those things. But in reality, it ripples out in such a positive way. You're going to attract your right partner. You're going to attract your friends that love your too muchness and your right. And then you're serving those around you in a way that like you've inspired me so much with your growth and stuff, because it's so inspiring. And that's the ripple effect that happens when we take care of ourselves in that way, and we listen to those callings on our soul, right?
Yes. So much. So much.
So you are exploring all of these different new avenues that you've got going. You've got so much growth happening, so much exciting things happening. So SOULcleanse and all your soul divers are just expanding, which is so exciting. What is like the next thing you're most excited about?
Oh my God. I really do want to do, I even have like brands, or my things are being like engraved, like SOULcleanse. Like I even have like a SOULcleanse Yeti bottle too. That's like, trust your soul wisdom. I'm like, what is happening? But it's trusting it. Yeah. One thing I'm really wanting to work on, I want a SOULcleanse retreat for sure. And I want to collaborate and do different things with different people. I'm very picky, like on it, like in a good way. Cause it's like, I want people to like really stir up their stuff. But I really want to do some coaching and mentoring from 6 to 8 soul divers, like intimate, like groups, like online. So I'm thinking on that right now. Cause I love group work. So I love one-on-one. I love it so much, but there's an expansion that's craving for like more. Like I have a legacy that I'm in right now that I don't even realize that I didn't even know that like this, like I've dreamt about it, but like I want to be, on stage. I even talked to you about it. It's like doing like huge events, like Red Rock. Like I see so many things, but it's like, let me get down and like go from there. So that's kind of where I'm at right now, which is scary, but amazing.
Yeah, that is amazing. You have so much to offer the world. And I think having the little group sessions, I think that's beautiful because it automatically creates an intimate community for those people. And right now, people need community so much. They need to show how it can be safe and be beautiful to be vulnerable and connect with people,
Yeah.
and to show them how much that can feed their soul in the right ways.
Yeah. That
So much.
sisterhood is like, I think what's lacking, especially in North American culture, but that whole like how we can lean on each other and support one another. I think it's, yeah,
Mhm.
it's been
beautiful.
missing for a long time, which is
Yeah.
why women are in this space of we're just trying to be too much all the time.
There's so many things you go through as a mother, like you lose a character of yourself, of like who you were. And it's like she never really goes anywhere, but definitely you're in a different transition for sure. There's beautiful things about being a mother, and there's also really hard. So it's like having that time for you guys to be in that space, to still check in with, the teenage you, like the feminine, like to actually come into that and have that for you guys to step into your power, to step in your goddess. Like we're all goddesses and queens out here. So it's just really honoring yourself to get, sexual within yourself, to come into your power, to surround yourself with vulnerability and things that like test you, but put on things that make you feel sexy too. Like check back into her, bring her back to life. Because I think as a mother, it's like, oh, I gotta look like a mom. Like be a sexy mom. You're still you. Yes. Like
be
I'm
sexy
just too
mom.
sexy mom.
Yeah, that was one of my more transformative parts, was when I started bringing that stuff up, because I hadn't been in a relationship for 4 years, right? And so I was realized that my sexy things that I was wearing, I was wearing for somebody else all the time instead of wearing it for me.
Yes.
And so I was like, wait, I can wear these things just for me.
Just for you.
Yeah.
And then it's totally different when you put it on. Like if you're with somebody too, you're like, this is, it's a different vibration than like, I hope you see me. Like, do you think I look really good? But if you feel really good, that's what really matters. And then it just enhances the vibration even more.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It automatically shines outward, right? When we're feeling good in any
it's contagious.
scenario. It
like,
is. It is. So if you come out being like, yeah, I know I'm sexy.
Yeah.
Then people automatically like, yeah, you're sexy, right? You're not like, you don't want to come out, especially like with your partner or anyone else, and be like, so like,
what do you think?
Sexy? What do you think?
Yeah.
Like, no, like, bam.
Like,
Yeah.
hey, and everybody's like, what happened?
Yeah.
Right. Like even just something like as simple as putting on like a lacy bralette underneath or something instead of like a nude bra that can't be seen. Like that would be something that I would do normally, right? And just like hide it, everything. And then I'm like, no, you know what? I'm gonna put it on lacy because it makes me feel more feminine.
Yep. Oh my God. I love it. I love it so much.
Any way we can show ourselves self-love, and anything that we can do to fill our soul and fill our cup, those are like those little baby steps we can take. They all compound, and they're all feeding your soul and feeding that calling that you have, that we all have. I think as women, we like to get a little stoic and pretend that we don't need these things, and we don't need to have those self-care moments or work through any worthiness issues and things, because we're solid. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm got a career, I'm like solid in what I am. Okay, but there's so much more. And when you become so much more as an individual, all of those other hats that I just mentioned become so much more, right? It's such a beautiful transformation that can happen for everyone in your life when you do that for yourself.
It's energy that they want to be around. They're like, I want to eat that energy up. That's quite delicious. And then also let's acknowledge too that it can be triggering for people to be like, oh, she thinks she's the shit, blah, 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 all these different things. But people show up how deep they've met themselves too. So it's like, if you're being triggered with something, why? So I love triggers. It's like, oh, let me see why that's coming up for that too. And then also sexiness, we have to make sure that we're not putting on a mask. It's like a mask of sexy, that you are being true to yourself, true to yourself.
And understanding that when people's triggers show up, it's not about us, right? We can't let that make us step back into our comfort, into our step back from our growth because it's triggering those around us, we
Mhm.
have to kind of stay true to what we're doing, and it will eventually level itself out. People will either rise to meet you and they're so inspired by what you're doing that they're going to come up to your level, or sometimes they just need to have a different role in your life so that you can stay in this new
Completely.
vibration that you're creating. And it's so important to be aware of that and to honor all of those things.
Absolutely.
So much. You guys, you know that. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, you go.
I was gonna say that when I had people like at the beginning kind of wanting to work with me, they're like, "You're too much. I'm too triggered with you. You're trying to bring up way too much of my emotions." Like, no way. A year later, I think I'm ready for you.
Yeah. You need to be
I'm like,
triggered,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Trigger is the catalyst to growth, I think.
It is. It really is. It's an
We need
invitation.
to stop being so afraid of them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like you said, we need to same thing now. I have learned to value so much when something comes up emotionally or triggering, or, we've all had pivotal moments where we see groups of women or see another woman and we're like, oh, like, meh, and you're like, wait a second, instead of just letting that run. Now, when you have like awareness, you can be like, why is that triggering me? I clearly need that or want that within myself.
Exactly.
I should work on getting it.
Yeah. I
was like,
love that. It's so
Mhm.
true.
What is one takeaway that you want to give our listeners?
If you could give them one tangible thing to take away today from all of your epicness.
Oh my goodness. Okay. To start putting yourself first, to really start putting yourself first, not, and like I think we can be so wrapped up in selfishness of it, but we have to really honor our needs. I mean, I've come from like codependency, the helper in me, to make sure that I've left myself so much for others. And then now when you come into this vibration of really honoring your needs, saying no, saying yes, taking care of everything within, allow that, because then you're going to step into your vibration of where you're meant to be.
Beautiful.
And where can everybody find you? What do you have going on?
Yes, tell us.
Oh my gosh. You can find me on my website, Dylan, It's Your Time, DYLAN, it's your time.com. And then Dylan, It's Your Time IG. And then I also have a podcast as well called SOULcleanse. To so many things. Let's see. I mean, I have workshops coming up. The workshops are new. That was new when I did Soul Aches. And then I have one talking about like your inner critics, to come in touch with your soul wisdom, to release the power of your inner critics. That's coming up on July 5th. And then I'm doing one-on-one work, workshops, groups. I mean, it's all just energetically. If you feel drawn to me, I always feel that people are drawn to me for a reason. And then we do a soul consultation, what's coming up, and then we go from there. And it has to be an energy match too, because we're not meant for everybody on this type of journey. So if I feel like, I don't feel like this is time right now, like I mean that with so much love and compassion, like has to feel like we are excited about this. You have to be ready. You have to be ready to do some soul diving. You can't be like, I think I'm ready. You have to like be ready. I'm not going to convince you. I'm not going to chase you down. I'm not going to do a sales pitch. I'm not going to chase fear. We're going to step through fear and honor the vulnerability and the shakiness, and step into your bravery and just the courage of everything that you are. So I just love seeing humans just thrive in everything that they're meant to be and more.
Yeah.
So much.
That's incredible. Thank you so much for being here. And I do highly recommend following her on Instagram and everything, because it's such a beautiful page to follow. There's so much inspiration and value added there. And so, yeah, absolutely go find this woman. You need her in your life.
Thank you so much, you guys.
Thank you, Dylan, for being here. As well, if you found value from this episode, please share it with whoever that you think needs to hear it. A share can change somebody's life. And as always, don't forget to put yourself first, because you can't pour from an empty cup.
That's right. Self-care is selfless. Thank you so much for being here. As always, we are also on Instagram, the Evolution of Mom podcast, and we love interacting with you. We love being here to serve you and honor you and have whatever conversation you need to have. We love holding space for anyone that needs it. So thank you so much for being here. And as always, thank you to the Next Level University for making our podcast possible. We love you guys. Bye.
Bye.